He's doing a Facebook Live in just a couple of minutes, so why don't you tune into him, period.
It should be connecting right about now.
He is on now. Becky, she's going to come, but she said just everything's gone wrong today, so she's not going to make it. So I said, that's it, you're out of the road.
All right, friends, we should be Facebook Live now, coming to you from my good friends Dexter and Ginster Kuntz's backyard, where we've got a bunch of great Americans out here enjoying the afternoon. And I got to tell you, these folks went above and beyond. They individually packaged everything, from the ketchup to the mayonnaise to the hamburger buns, all in their own containers, so folks that might be concerned know that they're safe. And this is just a wonderful afternoon. So we're about to start, and we got a couple more minutes. We'll let some more folks sign in, and hopefully some of my good new friends out here in the backyard will join me over here, and I will have a conversation with them while I try to answer your questions on here like we do each week.
And I was telling somebody the other day, I found some of my trucks, and I said, people hurt themselves. I was telling about you and telling about me.
Mother. Thank you, Scott.
Because I have one that's one-handed, and I have 4 things in here, and the other one that's two-handed, I 12 things on my shoulders. And this is the PEX water lines.
Those of you that are signed in, you can go ahead and start punching in some questions if you care to, and we'll wait just another minute or so, and we'll get to yapping together. Hello, Misty. Thanks for being on. Looking forward to next week coming your way.
I'm supposed to get somebody else something. You ain't.
Inspection. Wow. Sergeant Major, thanks for being on. Appreciate you listening. Ralph, not yet. Ralph asked me if I've got any big plans for the holidays. Not yet. I'm looking for places to speak. Certainly, I guarantee you, my wife and I will barbecue something. We'll get something. Maybe we'll get some of that pork out that we butchered the other day, and get after that.
I talked to Dexter about this. I haven't talked to anybody else about it, but Jeff Jorgensen, he's done an excellent job as chairman and I was thinking about getting him some kind of plaque to present to him. Say you've done an outstanding job, blah blah blah, something like that. And anybody wanted to kick in $5 or so, we'll know more about it when we do that. I'm thinking just a plaque with a silver engravement or gold, with that, something like that. It would be a good way of telling the rhinos during this thing, screw you, you know what I'm saying? It would also be a good honor for Jeff, too, to do that.
All right, we're starting to pick them up. I'm going to, bear with me, teammates, I'm going to post if I can figure out how to do this, I'm going to post a photo of the backyard here for everybody.
No, I wouldn't tell him about it. Just tell him he need to be there.
Well, he will. I mean, this is at we're talking about the annual fundraiser.
Oh. Lincoln Radio.
Yeah, I mean, he's having South Dakota governor down. He actually got her. In 2015, he got President Donald Trump. The things he's done. I think he deserves something. He deserves some recognition.
Did y'all go to that thing in Oakland where he had his fuck Muslims?
I was there.
I blew you away.
Okay. All right, friends. Look, we got quite a few folks on. I just posted a picture so some other folks will see this great event with folks out here in the Council Bluffs area. I've been working Potts County for a couple of days. be on my way back home tomorrow. I got a couple of stops along the way to drop off some yard signs from some folks that reached out. So things are going very well. We've been very busy. Had a TV interview today, WHO TV, and that was a taped recording. It'll be aired on Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. I believe it's channel 13. So again, for new folks that are here, I am Bill Schaefer. I am seeking the Republican nomination for here in Iowa's District 3. I'm honored for each and every one of you that tunes in to listen to me, and those of you that ask me questions, and the opportunity to get to know each other and hopefully earn your vote. I have an Army background. My father served before I did, and then I served for a good number of years, 32 actually. Worked for the Army for a few more years, so really 36 years of my life dedicated to the soldiers of this great country. My wife and I have been married for 36 years. We met in Maryland, and we have 3 adult children. They are in Georgia and Arizona. Our middle daughter is here right now helping us, but we'll be heading back to Texas this summer where she's a teacher. I will be happy to answer any questions about my background if anybody has any. I will close that introductory comments with just some discussion about the last few years of my career. I retired as a colonel, and as a colonel I served underneath the plane that's making a lot of noise, so I'm going to hesitate for a second. The risks of doing it outside. Okay, so, as a colonel, I served in the Pentagon a couple of years, providing briefings to 4-star generals, the vice chiefs of all the services about training issues. I also commanded a brigade of about 2,000 soldiers. We were responsible for training and readiness of reserve component, National Guard, and reservists that were deploying overseas. And then I came here to Iowa to serve as the operations officer and chief of staff for a 3-star headquarters that was responsible for all of continental United States. And I point those positions out to you to demonstrate the level of responsibility, the level of decision making, and the strategic experience that I have that I believe will equate well to helping you as your congressman and my ability to solve problems. I will deliver you constitutional problem solving. I believe very much in this constitutional federal republic, and I think it's time that we stop asking the federal government to solve every problem that comes up. And politicians need to stop trying to deliver you federal solutions for things that should be pushed back to the states or even to us as individuals for responsibility. So with that introduction, hi Paul, thank you buddy. If you want to ask me a question, come join me. Get on camera.
Listening, I like to gather information, keep my eyes and ears open, and
yeah, absolutely.
learn things.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service.
Very kind. I
I
appreciate
do
it.
appreciate it.
I'll ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am. Please do.
Should have sit down, Bill?
Oh, yes, please. That's that was the. So we got one of our first contestants coming down for the.
This is a lot of fun right here in the backyard.
So, want to introduce yourself first and then ask the question?
Eileen Smith and my family moved to Council Bluffs, Iowa to build a business at the Council Bluffs Airport. So that's what brings us to Iowa. We love Iowa, and we're happy to support Bill Schaefer. My question is, my husband is diabetic, and we just retired. Insulin is out of sight.
Yes.
Like what's happening? Is there anything happening, to bring the drug prices down? Because he takes 2 insulins, a pancreatic enzyme. The first month we retired, it was $2,000 for 3 medicines, and that wasn't all the medicine.
Right. No, I don't have all the answers for pharmaceuticals yet. I'm studying on that problem, but I do know one of the only good things that's come out of this overreaction to coronavirus is the probability that we're going to bring some drug production back here to the States. I do believe that that we want to get the federal government out of the business of the medical world and make sure it's a free market system. But I also think that the federal government could have a role in billing transparency and pricing transparency. I think that's where one of the issues come from with the increased prices that are associated. So we'll definitely dig into that, and again, try to make it a free market system that delivers those things to us.
All right. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, that was great.
You want to ask a question?
No, I'm
Tim
better when I
So-
just listen.
I
You
do
wanna
have a
ask a
question on
question?
the text messaging here. It says, "What makes me a better candidate than David Young?" And I think it's the background. I am confident that Iowans in District 3 are looking for an actual conservative candidate, a true conservative. That when he tells you something, he says what he means. When I tell you that I'm pro-life, I'm 100% pro-life. I care equally for the life of the mother and the preborn child, and I think that's the way we should look at it as pro-life folks. When I tell you that I support the Second Amendment, that's part of my constitutional approach. I support the entire Constitution. I will defend it, and I will not compromise. I will not deliver you feel-good legislation that makes a particular group of folks maybe think the federal government is solving a problem, like the murders that they equate to gun control, when they're not really solving the problem and they're just trying to garner votes. Red flag laws are out. They violate our constitutional rights. They violate 5 of the first 10 amendments, and we will not support them. So if you're looking for a constitutional conservative, if you're looking for someone who will tell you what he thinks, answer your questions honestly, that's a true conservative that will deliver constitutional problem solving, and most importantly will serve you, the people of this district and of the nation, that has no intentions of ever becoming a politician other than the time that I served you in Washington, D.C. My background, being military, is the other big difference. I think, I have written policy, I have delivered strategic analysis both for folks that I work for as well as for the commands that I had. Well, and then the comment right after that, government never solved anything. I certainly agree with that for the most part. But one of the reasons that we have, I think, a big problem in the country is we've spent 100 years being told to depend on the federal government for solutions, for answers to problems that aren't required of them in the Constitution. And the Constitution is very clear. We enumerate powers to the federal government, and if it's not in there, then it's reserved to the states or to the individual. And I think to the point being made there, when you put what becomes daily life problems at the federal government level, you get complex solutions that don't solve the problems, and then you can't reach out and touch those that are responsible for the solution. So. Absolutely, that's what we need to do. We need to get those things back to the states, back to the local governments, back to our friends and neighbors that are serving in those local roles, and we have more access to get the federal government doing federal government level business. Of course. Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'm just thrilled with Bill and his pro-life stance. I'm a counselor at Gabriel's Corner, our crisis pregnancy center here. I invite you to come down.
Oh, great.
And look, we got people down there too. I don't know how well we can work it right now with the big crowd. But, the pro-lifers are
We'll write that down.
the toughest ones around there. Working for you. You're good.
Oh, good.
Good deal, like
Good to
life
hear.
of the mother. There's no reason for any of us ever. And in this coronavirus, they're wide open.
Right.
Abortion clinics.
Right.
Everybody else is shut.
Yeah, isn't that terrible? It's amazing.
Well, nice to meet you, Bill. I got to head out.
Thank you very much.
Keep up the good
Be
work.
safe.
It's an honor. Take care. Anything come back?
What thoughts do you have on helping small business so we can open up America, and are you concerned with opening it? Yeah, very much concerned with that. A couple of restaurateurs I know have not opened yet, and they haven't opened because of the restrictions that have been put on them. I got to say, I'm a little disappointed in guidelines that are enforced. We have guidelines that are allowing restaurants to open at at less than full capacity, and yet there's increased expenses associated with, you know, the disinfectant stuff that they are going to be required to do now, and so it just seems like an untenable position, and I think that's why many of them haven't opened. I think our government needs to realize, and I'm talking state level and federal level, that we have overreached. We have created a situation where we have relinquished some of our freedoms to the government with authorities that they don't have, and we should have never closed down anything. I don't think. At this point, it's very clear that we need to open, and we just need to open. The guidelines need to come out, and in our own governor's words from Iowa, put the guidance out, not enforcement, put the guidance out and trust Iowans to do the right thing. Iowans will take care of each other, Americans will take care of each other, and we need to get this economy going again. I don't have all the answers for how we help the small businesses, because I know many of them right now are already going out of business, or are close to going out of business. And so, you know, we certainly need to try to make the cash flow available to them that would allow them to remain solvent and get their employees back in and get back in and just get back to work. Should the government be held responsible for shutting down the economy, winning it against the Constitution? Well, you know, Ralph, the only problem with that statement is, how do you hold them accountable? There's really only two ways. You support stimulus bills, which means we're really holding ourselves accountable because we're going to pay for that. But I do think if our elected representatives would do the right thing and just have a targeted stimulus bill that supported those that are specifically impacted by the shutdowns, that probably most Americans would get behind that. I would get behind that. I absolutely do not support these stimulus bills that have all these attachments, whether the attachments are good intentions but nothing to do with coronavirus, or whether they're political agendas and nothing to do with coronavirus, or more importantly, the shutdown impacts. It's just wrong, and it's despicable what some of them are doing to us at the federal level specifically. So the next way we hold them accountable is at the election office, and I think that's the primary answer. What we need is to re-elect this president, to support him in his America First agenda, and then we need to elect true conservatives. I was asked in an interview a few days ago, you know, well, okay, you're doing good, but you're one person out of 300. Actually, you know, would be 435, and you know, so one against 434. Well, if you don't send me, then it'll be 435. So how about if we the people deliver constitutional conservatives, people have the ability to stand on their convictions, people that are not elitists and think that they are somehow anointed into this position and now can tell you what to do, and we'll go there and serve the people. We get enough conservatives true conservatives into Washington that aren't worried about their next election, and we'll start to see adjustments. We need to deliver a conservative House of Representatives, not necessarily a Republican House of Representatives. Okay. All right, now on June time. We're doing good. Okay, I'm asked again what makes me different than my opponent, David Young. I'll answer it the same way. I think it's our experience, our background, and then that brings us to where we are. My background is a conservative, self-reliant family. My background is a military career, serving the soldiers of this country for 32 years, really 36, 4 as a civilian in human resources. I have very strategic level experiences with the Army. I have senior level commands with the Army, where I have had the opportunity to solve complex problems and deliver policy, and by the way, live under those policies. When I tell you that I'm a constitutional conservative, I'm going to deliver that for you. I'm not going to compromise on constitutional issues. I'm not going to compromise on pro-life issues. And I'm going to work very hard. And I think this is a major difference. I'm not going to try to deliver you a solution to every problem you bring up to me. I'm going to talk to you about how we as Iowans want that problem solved, and start the conversation to get the federal government out of a lot of things that we have the federal government involved in. Yeah, there was a comment about on one of the other sites that my challenger for the Republican nomination couldn't handle a debate with me. I don't know if he could or couldn't. I know I'm willing to debate. I know he won't debate, and I think it's accurate that he won't debate me because the establishment is behind him, and therefore they don't feel the need to debate. I did read a quote from a reporter the other day, though, that I thought was pretty apropos. I thought debates were for you, the people, and so I've answered questions in a debate format that have been published. I've answered questions in a couple of different forums that have also been published, so you can see where I stand. If you look at my website, you will see where I stand on issues. You can see the video interviews I've done, and you'll see consistency in my message. If you go to the YouTube channel, there's about 9 videos there again where you can see. So it's very clear to you where I stand on issues. And I think that's a major difference as well. I'm not looking for the middle of the road. I'm delivering to you who I am in my background, who I am standing here in front of you today. And from there, all I can do is promise you that given the opportunity to execute, I will deliver for you. Now, I learned a long time ago as a leader in the Army, my words didn't mean anything to my soldiers unless my walk resembled exactly what I told them in words, and I believe I delivered that to your soldiers for many years, and I promise you I'll deliver that to you if you give me this nomination and deliver me to the House of Representatives next January.
Thank you.
How long do you think it will take to recover from the shutdown, and how much does the government need to be involved? Wow, my preferred answer is to not have the government involved at all. I believe, and this is one of the things, if I was in there now, I'd be helping the president with, and that is, the deregulation that allows the freedom of movement for businesses or free enterprise in general. Unfortunately, I think the federal government is going to have to be involved to the degree that they can influence interest rates and potentially make money available. I'm just concerned with that particular piece of it because, again, every time they create a bill, they attach a bunch of other stuff to it, and that's got to be fought. We've got to fight that. We've got to deliver that message to the current representatives and senators, as well as to our state representatives and senators, to fight the additional tag-ons of money. How long will it take? Well, the answer to that is going to depend on when our government graciously lets us open. Personally, I think that businesses ought to open, and we ought to support them. And if we open today, then I think the recovery will be, we will be moving in an upward direction, I believe, by the start of the third quarter, July, August timeframe. I think everything would probably work out in between now and then in July we would start to see the increased GDP, the increased growth in our economy. But every day that goes on, it makes that it's not a one-for-one math problem. Every day another business can't reopen, and then that's going to cause the recovery to be even longer. And of course, now we have another individual with these financial issues. So that wasn't the best answer, but that's kind of how I see and analyze that particular problem. Hello, Alice.
Down on the bottom. Down on the bottom right. Let me grab it.
So, Bill, I hope that was an adequate answer for you on the difference between me and my opponent. If it's not, throw another question in there and I'll try to answer it. What can I do to open up Minnesota? Well, I don't know. I could try to run office up there. Thank you for that. As a supporter of pro-life, would you ever vote for a spending bill with provisions for Planned Parenthood funding? Any thoughts on Planned? Yeah, absolutely. No, hello, Mary. Thank you. No, my intention is to join those that say they're willing to defund Planned Parenthood at the federal level. It absolutely needs to be done. And you know, they need to be more transparent in what they are. They use soft language. I mean, just their title, Planned Parenthood, is really a misnomer. So there's a lot of effort needs to be put into that. But as a country, as a culture, we need to keep that message going, that strong message going of not allowing the evil that is abortion to continue on our preborn children. So yes to defunding Planned Parenthood, and yes to supporting the health of the mother and the preborn child in this particular topic. Yes, ma'am.
Eileen gave me this. She wants you to come visit Gabriel's Corner.
Oh, awesome. All right. Our friend from before, she just gave me the address for Pro-Life Corner, so I'm going to get by there and visit as soon as I can. Thank you. This is our host, by the way.
Hi, everybody.
Okay.
So much
I don't know
fun.
what that means. Yeah, it's been an absolute blast. So I got to tell you, this is an example, I think, of the momentum that we the people are gaining. We had an impromptu meeting on Monday. I had 2 meetings on Monday, and then my good buddy Jeff, who's been helping me, did a Facebook post and said, "Hey, I've got Bill Schaefer with me, and I'm taking him down to this particular bar and grill in town," and about 10 folks showed up, and then Ginger and Dexter said, if we set something up at our house, will you come? So 2 days later, here we are in their backyard, and then they graciously agreed to let me do the Facebook Live, which I think is really cool. It's a great setting, and
It's wonderful.
I've got a bunch of camera shy folks. Maybe I'll just pick the camera up and turn it. But still, they're listening, and it looks like we're getting a lot of attention on what's going on, and we got a lot of folks signed in, so it's all good. My Aunt June says hi.
Hi.
That's Ginger June. And my mom's on there too, by the way.
Hi, Mom.
She usually doesn't say anything. She just listens. It's so funny.
Well, I wish you were all here. So much fun.
And so for all of you, as I described that military family, that, you know, my aunt is in New York. That's where my parents grew up. My mom and dad are in Maryland. That's where they're listening from. I would be surprised if my brother in Oklahoma is not listening. I've already told you where my kids are, so you can see that's the life of the military. There's a lot of greatness in it, and then there's the spread out family. But I have great appreciation for those that are supporting me, and certainly Aunt June and my mom, Marion Schaefer, are 2 of my biggest supporters. Hello, Whitney. Good to see you. All right, and you know, Julie, we didn't get that list out before this, like I promised you. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, we would. Aunt June said she wishes they were here too. I do as well. It would be a blast.
I'm going to turn the camera around, okay?
Oh, there's my mom. Yeah, okay. Okay, you're going to get a little bit of jostle. Ginger's going to turn the camera around on the yard, and you can keep asking questions. It's okay.
Okay, so there's the garage.
Oh, you got a good angle. It's all good.
Say hi to Jeff.
How are you?
There's Bill. Can you see Bill?
I can see him. Oh, you got the camera right on his big old mustache.
And back there,
I'm sitting right across from him.
You're stuck with that water, though.
I've got a tether. Back there are a few people.
Got a couple
Back
of them
there.
There's more around the corner.
But it's a beautiful night.
Tell us how you ended up in Howard. Help me out, Paul. You mean in Iowa? Why I'm here in Iowa? I'm going to assume that question is to tell us again how you ended up in Iowa, and then I got a question about combat. So,
How's that,
spread the
Bill?
legs up. Perfect. And this. Okay. Well, Jack's not with me this time. I sent him home. Okay, so first, how did I end up in Iowa? The Army brought me to Iowa, and I believe that's the question. If not, Paul straightened me out. And about 2011, I came here as a colonel. There's a 3-star headquarters here in Iowa that's responsible for training, the continental United States training of the Reserve and the National Guard. And I was the operations officer and then the chief of staff for that lieutenant general. And then I retired, and the Army hired me back as a human resource guy, so I was the director of human resources for another 4 years. So the answer to that question, the short answer is the Army directed me to come to Iowa. The long answer is my wife and I love it here, so we chose to stay. The next question is, and just Paul, just let me know if that was enough. If you want me to elaborate more, any other kind of detail. So the next question is, where did you serve in combat? My 2 main combat tours were Desert Storm, deployed, spent about 6 months in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Kuwait, including the war, the fighting part of it. And then I went back again. I was a company commander then, an infantry company commander. That's about 300 or so men. We were mounted on armored vehicles, and that was that. So then in 2003, 2004, I went back for a year as a battalion commander. That's about 900 men, and we conducted combat operations between Tikrit, Kirkuk, and Awesia. I spent most of my time in Awesia. So, okay. So, do you support President Trump's increase in the military budget, and how do you think he's handling the Chinese Communist government? The quick answer again is yes, I do support it, and primarily that's because, I serve, and it's very typical in our country to ebb and flow the amount of money. It's politically expedient to cut the military spending because it sounds like big money, but the truth is that even between the VA and the Department of Defense together, it's still only about 15% of the budget. And we were hurting in a lot of areas under the previous presidency. So President Trump was right, I think, to raise the budget of the military, to get a lot of the contingency funding out of the contingency funds and into the base budget, and that stabilizes the ability to contract and do other things associated with prosecuting the national security of this country. That being said, there are efficiencies that the Department of Defense owes us in their processes, and certainly all agencies like that, just like a business, owe a constant review on fraud and waste. And I think there's areas that they can do better, so that they are efficiently using the taxpayer dollars that we give them to prosecute national defense. How do I think the president's dealing with Chinese communist government. Personally, I think he's doing wonderful with it. I think his relatively head-on approach is a good way to address them. The challenge he has, of course, is they have a long-term strategy. They don't have a term limits for their folks, and they have the ability to wait a president out. So, as it is right now, I think right now they're biding their time a little bit, trying to see if they think there's any chance of the president being replaced. Otherwise, they were coming to the table. They were starting to make adjustments based on the trade deal that he was working on with them. I believe that if we as a country make it very clear that the president is going to get reelected and or after the election, they will come back to the table and be moving in a direction of a little bit more fairness. But they are a communist regime, and so it's got to be with cautious optimism that we continue to deal with it. The leftist Democrats are promoting a resurrection. I believe you mean the Equal Rights Amendment, and expound on your position. No, I would absolutely fight that. And here's the thing. The original civil rights movement was the right thing at the right time in this country, creating the conditions where, regardless of the color of your skin, we treated each other with dignity and respect. Okay, folks, as happens every time, my video has gone out, but I'm assuming we're still going. And that's good. But this Equal Rights Amendment that they're currently working on, and that the Democrats have tried to resurrect, and they're trying to rewrite the rules so that they can extend the approval time of something that was written in the 80s, is just wrong, and it's bad for the country. Again, I'll remind you, I'm a very strong proponent that each of us should treat each other with dignity and respect, regardless of what we think of somebody's lifestyle, and folks should be secure in their persons and who they are. But the federal government creating groups of people that can be pitted against each other is a failing proposition. When I say treat you with dignity and respect, you owe that back. You should not be allowed, or you certainly shouldn't have a government protection that allows you to go into business and demand that they put up with your lifestyle. Find another business. Somebody will do business for you. That's free market enterprise. And so dignity and respect goes both ways. The current actions from primarily our Democratic Party for this Equal Rights Amendment thing would be clearly an assault on religious freedoms and religious liberties. And that should not be supported by elected officials. Okay, just got some nice comments. So thank you all for the nice comments. Okay. Oh, I missed something I was going to say on the president's budget for the Department of Defense as well. Another thing that needs to happen, and I believe we can do this, and it goes along with my balanced budget discussions. But one of the things that we can do to help the Department of Defense is change the budgeting rules at the congressional level, specifically for organizations like the Department of Defense and even the Department of State that have federal responsibilities to secure our country in the world. And those, what I'm talking about is the annual constraint causes contracts to cost too much while they get front-end loaded. So I don't want to get into depth on that too much, but I can tell you from experience, when you're dealing with a company on something that's going to be delivered over a 5-year period, but you can only guarantee the 1-year funding, and then you have option years that have to be approved every year. the price goes up, and of course a lot of the costs get front loaded. That's why you see some of these figures on contracts that look ridiculous, and they're technically not as ridiculous as they look if you spread them out over time. But if you look in that 1 year, which is guaranteed money, it's a problem. So I think we can do that, and it would help those agencies in the executive branch that actually have constitutional roles. It would help them budget more efficiently. Mary, I'm not sure I know what the PTC is. I'm sorry, that acronym is escaping me at the moment. Do you think America needs another $3 trillion stimulus bill? I'm very concerned about the impact of inflation on the dollar. I'm worried about printing trillions of dollars. Yeah, that's Sergeant Major Mattis. I am very proud that you and my other Sergeant Major are on there, Sergeant Major Spencer are on there. That's just awesome. Okay. The $3 trillion stimulus, absolutely not. The $3 trillion stimulus, first of all, we all know that was a purposeful push from the Democrat side to create a left boundary that forces progressive Republicans to compromise once again to the left. I've talked about this a lot. Reach across the aisle is one thing, but always compromising to the left of the problem is not healthy for our country. And so no is the answer. And then in addition, any stimulus that we need right now needs to be very directed at the impact of government decisions on our businesses, mostly our businesses right now. So I would potentially support another stimulus if it was clean and was very much addressing the small businesses somebody asked me about earlier. And then the inflation that you mentioned as well. Yes, somebody asked last week about fiat currency, and do I think that we can just print money like some politicians do? And that wasn't intended to be humor. Some really think that debt isn't a problem and that we can just print. No, I don't agree with that, and I am also concerned with inflation. And so I'm not a big fan of this idea of fiat currency. I'm not a big fan of debt and deficit. I think that we, the people, need to elect folks who have the strength to go in there and talk balanced budget and not just give up on it like many in the party do and say it's just too hard. I don't even know what they mean by hard. Is it hard because it's going to take a long time? Is it hard because folks are going to argue about it? I don't know, folks. I've done a few things hard in my life, and this doesn't sound hard. It just sounds like we got to have folks willing to get after it, and I am. Zero-based budget. Yes, sir. Get on camera there. Okay. Goodbye, Bill. Thanks for stopping by. All right. Zero-based budget. I'm still waiting for a description of PTC. I'm sure that's an acronym. I should know, but I'm forgetting what it is. Okay. Zero-based budgeting. I think that's the answer. And obviously that's another word for balancing the budget. But what it's more descriptive of is when you come up with a new good idea. Actually, I did some of this in the Army, by the way. When I told you I worked at the Pentagon and briefed 4-star generals on training issues, that's exactly what I was doing. Because even though the Pentagon is taxpayer funded, it is zero-based budgeting. They have a certain amount of money. They can't just go get more at the Pentagon level. They get a certain budget from the president and from the Congress. It's the president's budget on an annual basis. And so what happens is that good ideas come up in the execution year, and sometimes those good ideas really are truly good ideas. And in order to fund them, you have to take money away from another project, or even defund another project, or just get rid of it because it now is outdated. So you forecast your funding requirements, and then your budget is built and then delivered based on your forecast, and then in execution something changes. I believe that's what my good friend Paul is referring to. So if our congressmen come up with a new good idea this year, and they, as representatives of the people, get enough votes to implement that good idea, fine. But that should require them to cut from somewhere else to pay for that new funding. Absolutely drives me nuts when politicians talk about paying for tax cuts. It's our money. You're not paying. You don't have to pay for tax cuts. You need to pay for the programs. And you pay for the programs with taxpayer dollars. And zero-based budgeting would be a great talking point to add to my balanced budget discussion. So thanks for those words. That's good stuff. Should China be held accountable? Should we pay them for what they have done? The answer is yes. China should be held accountable. Preferably, we will be able to hold them accountable through diplomatic means, and of course, with the president's approach to cause them to pay for something, be held accountable for something financially, and that's the preferred approach. That and bringing in a coalition of other countries to that same mindset and putting enough pressure on them that they have to make adjustments. But clearly they made some mistakes that impacted the world, and they should own up to that, and they should be held accountable for it. Production tax credit. Okay. Production tax credit was the question on the PTC, and it's about subsidizing things. Listen, I'm not a big fan of subsidizing businesses really at all. The federal government constitutionally has a role in the promotion of sciences, and so I'm all for the federal government promoting the sciences through research and studies and trying to find. I don't have a problem with wind energy or water energy, or you pick any of these energies that are considered green. I'm not too interested in the green part of it. I'm interested in efficient energies that also have a market value to the consumer, being delivered to the consumer from the company without subsidies, which create falsities in pricing and falsities in terms of who isn't able to make a legitimate progress. So my preferred solution on that particular topic is not to cut the subsidies, off at the knees, but to gradually phase them out. And then wind energy can either deliver a product in the free market and make it on its own, or it won't. Separate from that, of course, is the issues that local folks have, which I think is now becomes more of a state problem, where whether or not they want the wind farms that close to their houses and businesses, that becomes a community issue, and that's very, very important to folks as well. Thank you, Mary. I hope I gave you a satisfactory description of where I see subsidies in general, but particularly with the subsidizing industrial wind.
But anyway, when my younger brother started talking,
Okay, 6:15. All right, man. These things are awesome. I wish I knew how many folks are on right now, but they go so fast. It's clear that you all are interested in the conversation, and I guess right now I'll take the opportunity as we start to wind down, and I get ready to join these great people again. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on to these Facebook Lives. I hope I've delivered enough of them to your satisfaction. And I encourage you, if you have decided that this is a good candidate for you, and I hope you have, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, convince them to take a look. I had a powerful conversation with some Democrats the other day. So you want to talk about a difference between me and my challenger for the Republican nomination? I'll bet you he can't talk about conversations with Democrats, independents, and libertarians that I have had in the last few months. Now, they can't help me in the primary. Only you can do that. But if I can get them to come to the table and want to talk to me, and I can get them to get fired up about the idea of pushing us back to the federal republic that we are, the constitutional federal republic, and arguing about particular policies at the state level, you can see the probability of delivering a percentage of those votes to this candidate in the general. So listen, I appreciate all of you. talk to your friends and neighbors. We got about 10 days, and we need to just encourage enough folks to get out there and vote and overcome the party politics that are trying to deliver you a candidate. If I hadn't mentioned it yet, by the way, I wanted to tell all of you I had an interview today with WHO TV. I think I did mention that earlier, and it'll be aired Sunday morning at 9:30. All right. Got to check real quick. Got a message. See if something's broke. Thanks, Dave. Where's my paper? Okay, where are you going to be in the coming days? So tomorrow morning, I'm leaving the Potts County, Pottawatomie County area. I'll be heading down 80, and I'm going to stop at Stewart to deliver a yard sign, a couple yard signs to some folks, and have a little chat. And then I'm going up to Adele for a little bit. Again, deliver some yard signs, have a little bit of a chat. Friday. Friday, I'm going to go to Madison County, and I'll be in Earlham for part of the day. Saturday, we'll go Facebook Live at 8:30. So grab a cup of coffee and tell folks that you know that might be interested that haven't had a chance to listen. Next Wednesday morning, I'll be in Polk County for a meeting at 7:30, and then Thursday I'm going to Adams County. So I don't have anything right now for Monday. I never ask folks for Sundays, but I am happy to come talk to you on Sunday if anybody is interested in that. And so Monday and Tuesday and next Friday are relatively free. And if you want to start coordinating with something with me, just let me know, and I will come and visit you.
So Jeff, Dawn is my niece right here. Good friend of me.
Okay, so when I get to Washington, what congressmen or women or senators would you seek out for advice, input, because you respect their positions? So I always enjoy answering that because the first thing I'm gonna do is get meetings with some of these folks, and I'm specifically going to meet with hopefully Senator Cotton and Senator Jim Jordan and Gosar and Gates, and there are several others. You can bet I'm looking at the Freedom Caucus in specifically and trying to determine if these folks are legitimately conservative. They seem to be. They talk a pretty good game most of the time. In this effort that I'm putting into this candidacy, I get a little concerned sometimes if how much the loyalty of the party trumps loyalty to conservatism or to the people of the country, and we'll see. But those are folks that I will definitely be talking to. I can also tell you that I have already, and I will in the future, seek educational material from the Heritage Foundation. They're pretty good. The information that they have provided me, I actually took classes from them a couple of weeks ago, and they provide fact-based and historical-based classes, and I really appreciate that. What are your thoughts regarding the ethanol industry? I really have kind of the same thoughts. Any industry that requires subsidies, I think, is a challenge. So again, I would prefer that we phase that out. And if ethanol is a product that folks want to buy, it'll survive. It'll survive on its own. It needs to be, again, a phased-out process. It'll take some time, but I think we can do it, and I think we should do it. And Paul, if there's an opportunity to come back through there, just let me know and I'll come back through. Okay, I think we're slowing down a little bit again. It seems to be an hour is probably about right. So I'll stick to that format for now. Again, for those of you who have taken the time to provide advice to me via private messaging, I certainly appreciate it. I love to get input from you on any topic, but also on the format and the way we're doing this. I want to thank Dexter and Ginger for allowing us to use their backyard today and change our setting just a little bit. Thank you. Okay. All right, so I will see you all on Saturday. As always, I will sign out with my phone number, 515-850-8100. Encourage you to push folks to the website to study on me and talk to your friends and family and encourage them to take a look at the candidates and hopefully all of you will help me get across this primary and win the Republican nomination, and then we'll get after the requirements of our district and of this nation as we go forward. God bless you all. Thank you for dialing in, and we'll see you on the next one.